Sleep now. Deeper, 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 deeper. Sinking, floating, drifting down. In a moment, I'll count to 3. And on the count of 3, you'll be back in the room feeling absolutely fantastic.
Thanks all for being here, Amit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much indeed. Thanks so much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Anthony.
Sleep now. Deeper, 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 deeper. All the way down. All the way down. Thanks.
Hi, welcome to the Manchurian Approach DVD. I'm here with Anthony Jacquin. Marvellous.
Hi, Chris.
I'm very nervous about shaking your hand at this point. This is essentially a DVD on hypnosis for magicians.
Yes, it is. Indeed.
Okay, now a lot of people may know you already from your book Reality is Plastic. Now this is a book that you wrote, is it 2 years ago now? A couple of years?
About 18 months ago.
Okay, 18 months ago. And we discussed, and it wasn't specifically aimed at magicians or mentalists, but a lot of people kind of who are into that type of thing bought the book. Have had success with it, and this is kind of bridging the gap between magic mind reading and the hypnosis.
Absolutely.
Right.
There are lots and lots of books and learning resources out there for hypnosis. Most are geared towards either hypnotherapy or stage hypnosis, and there are some good products, if you like. Reality is Plastic, which is this book here, is a book on impromptu hypnosis. So essentially, if you're not planning to be a stage hypnotist or a hypnotherapist, but you would like to give demonstrations of hypnosis, then this is a relevant book for you.
Yeah, I mean what's nice about it is, I think with stage hypnosis and certainly hypnotherapy, one of the things that people immediately think of is very specific conditions.
Yeah.
So hypnotherapy, the therapy room. Stage hypnosis, does the audience, play a part, in this whole theatrical piece. But this is essentially in a bar, on the street.
Or anywhere else. It could be in a sales presentation. It could be in the middle of a mentalism effect. It could be, as part of a parlour effect, or doing demonstrations with a whole audience. So, by impromptu, that doesn't just mean that it's unannounced or unplanned.
You're not going to go up to someone and go sleep.
Well, you can go up to someone and go sleep,
Right.
And it covers that too. But ultimately, I just want people to become a hypnotist, so that in any situation, whether it's in the middle of a magic effect or at a party, they are able, prop-free, to get into a performance of hypnosis.
And that's a great point. And what you've sort of touched on there is, prop-free. So essentially, if you are a magician or mentalist or something, and you're out with friends or you're out in a social situation and someone says, do something, you haven't got your card, your favourite, maybe peak device, billet work, you can use the techniques which we're going to set out on here to do a very, very good demonstration.
Once you learn this, you'll be able, this will be something that's kind of in your back pocket forever.
Right.
And I think you said something relevant there with regard to magicians learning this, and then the next logical step being how do they apply it. And that is relevant because perhaps 60-70% of copies of Reality is Plastic have sold to magicians.
Right.
It's a very popular book with them. And again, partly that is part of the reason for that is that hypnosis is one of the original mystery arts, along with a good Q&A act and contact mind reading. Hypnosis is old school and has been around for a long time. But more recently, I think people have imagined you need a degree in psychology or you need to be an NLP practitioner to be any good at it. Neither of those things are true. In fact, quite often those two qualifications will prevent you from getting started. But, you know, quite often magicians learn it, they learn the techniques, but the next leap they have to make is, how do I apply it? How do I mix this in with a card effect, a coin effect, a mind reading effect?
Absolutely.
And so I want this DVD to go over, you know, the techniques of doing hypnosis, but secondly, how to routine it in to your act so it suits your character.
Yeah, so it's not like you're not all of a sudden just jumping from being a magician into a hypnotist. You're kind of blending it so it's all part of your performance and it all weaves together in a very natural way. Let's talk briefly about the structure of this particular DVD project.
Yeah.
Now, this is going to be sort of split into two sections, which is going to be the inductions themselves and the actual hypnosis, and then moving on to the magic stuff. So this is this could be for someone that's never, you know, perhaps read the book or learnt hypnosis, has no background in it. They could take this and go, you know, from start to finish and learn some hypnosis as well.
The structure we're going to use is very straightforward. I'm going to talk about how I open up a group of people and get them interested in the idea of being hypnotised and taking part in some of the group exercises.
Yeah.
From there, we're going to go into the setup process. That's how in a few sentences you can get people on board, figure out who's likely to be your best candidates for it, how to deal with objections and fears people have. We'll then get into what I call the set piece, which are exercises that some people will know as suggestibility tests or exercises in waking hypnosis. I call it a set piece because they're not really that good as tests,
right,
but there are a lot of things you can achieve in terms of building this hypnotic relationship with your potential subjects. From the set piece, we go into the inductions, of which I'm going to just teach you two key inductions. One will be the handshake induction and another is eye to hand fixation. You'll see that from those two and the set piece exercises, you actually have a lot more to play with, a lot more freedom. Right. I'm not going to try and run through, you know, and repeat all the information that's in Reality is Plastic, the book. But I'll you know, I'm not ashamed to admit that those two inductions are the two that I use in pretty much every single performance of hypnosis and magic.
Okay.
So you don't need tons of inductions. That's just your means to get the person in. And yeah, if it has some drama and some flair, then it'll also help get other people involved and get their attention. Yeah. So we do the inductions. We're going to talk briefly about deepening and how to bring somebody out. And then the first kind of phenomena that I typically get into, things like arm levitation, catalepsy, being unable to move, getting people laughing, and I mean the subject, not just the people that are watching the subject.
Right, so it's like uncontrollable laughter.
Yeah, uncontrollable laughter, getting them corpsing with laughter. And then from there, we'll get into the kind of heavier phenomena of hypnosis. So hallucinations, amnesia, the post-hypnotic act, how to use post-hypnotic suggestions well. And you know, health and safety is key along the way. You have to understand that as a hypnotist, yes, it's fun, but ultimately you're in charge of the moral and ethical and health and safety boundaries. So we are going to cover that kind of stuff too. We will then look at how to use all these phenomena in the context of being a close-up card guy, in the context of doing magic on radio, in the context of a mind-reading parlour act.
Okay.
So try and put it in some different context. Yes, along the way you're going to, you know, see people doing silly things.
Of course.
But the aim of this is to make it relevant to magicians.
Yeah, so that people can kind of go away and think, I can use that, I could work that into what I'm doing.
Yeah. And
kind of enhance what they're doing with the hypnosis. And I like the fact that you've picked because you said it in the book that it's far better to master a couple of inductions as opposed to try and learn 5, 6 or 7 and, you know, kind of get to grips with some of them. So those specific inductions that you taught, the eye to hand fixation and the handshake induction, both really nice, both quite visual, you know, for people watching as well. Yeah. Also with the set pieces, which is something that people will see in the live performance footage where you're doing it with a group to select. It's probably a good time to just quickly ask you now, when you're using the set piece obviously to select the best subjects and that, are there certain people that just cannot be hypnotized, or within reason, can anybody be hypnotized as long as they're kind of got the faith in you? Because you set out in the book, you know, they have to know that you think of yourself as the hypnotist. That's something you quite strongly sort of set out in the book.
Yeah.
So is that kind of a quite a key element? I mean, anyway, it doesn't matter who it is, as long as they're kind of going to go with it and go with you.
I proceed with the assumption that everybody can be hypnotized.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't walk into a bar and think he'll be good, she'll be awful, he's too analytical, she's too stupid. Occasionally people will prompt those kind of thoughts in my mind.
Of course.
And when they do, for some bizarre reason, it tends to come true. That person is too stupid, or that person is too analytical.
Right.
Okay. But as a rule of thumb, you cannot tell who will be good, who will not be good, until you get through your opener, get through your intro, and get into them. And what I'm interested in at that point, and we'll talk about this when we get into this stuff in more detail, is who's paying most attention, who is fascinated, who is sitting there listening to me.
Sort of almost like they've got a thing written across their head, pick me. They want to be part
exactly.
of it. Yeah,
just like you. Look at me. No, seriously, look right here, right underneath my eye.
Yeah.
Yeah? Take a deep breath in. Close your eyes. Sleep now. Deeper, 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 deeper. Sinking, floating, drifting down. In a moment, I'll count to 3. And on the count of 3, you'll be back in the room feeling absolutely fantastic and really, really ready to be hypnotised. 1, 2, 3. Wide awake. How you doing, Chris?
What just happened there? I want to shake your hand again now. Explain what just happened there for people watching that, because that's... I mean, we've spent time together before, haven't we? And... I'm very wary about ever shaking hands with you. Am I quite a good subject then? Because that was straight there. I mean, I know you didn't even go through set piece and that or anything. Is that because I've been hypnotised before, or
did we set anything up?
No, there was no setup there.
Were you already hypnotised before we got here?
No,
indeed. So the point is, you can just go straight in.
Right.
Okay, and that's about the hypnotist.
I'm sort of leaning away from you.
Don't worry.
Okay.
But look. My preference, to answer your question, is to play it as a numbers game, to approach as many people as you can,
right,
and to work with the people who, on that night, in that mood, with that hypnotist, rise to the top.
Yeah.
And to leave other people thinking, well, that could have been me, or I wish that had been me, and then you'll find that their expectation, their anticipation, helps pull them straight into your game, as it were.
The nice thing as well is if people are already kind of experienced with magic and mentalism and being a performer, then they've got kind of a little bit more of a leeway into this. You know, they've got a bit more of a confidence. They're used to dealing with people as well, and they've got sort of something to fall back on if they kind of, I don't know, maybe if they fluff it when they're doing it, but there's no reason why they should. I mean,
no, there's not. But that is a massive advantage.
Yeah.
Knowing that. Understand the set piece exercises, which are simple and anyone could learn. Some of them look like schoolboy tricks, things like magnetic hands, things like that. Okay, when you read it and you know how they work and you know how simple they are, it's easy to think, well, I know that, but let me get onto the big stuff. Yeah. But I can assure you, when you get a dozen people around a table doing these exercises, you are entertaining them.
Yes.
And you have an opportunity to leap off at that point. That was your demonstration of mind over body. That was it. You never promised a full on stage hypnosis.
No, you've done something. You've supposedly controlled their movements with what you're saying.
So if you were to do that and then to come in with a strong piece of magic or mentalism, whatever else it is you happen to do, then nothing is ever lost. Okay.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about that. We'll talk in more detail about when to proceed, when not to proceed.
Yeah.
And how you can play that, because it's one of the fears people have. What if they don't go? What if
they don't go? And what about if I go up there and I do sleep and they just go, what are you doing?
Sure.
We'll discuss that.
And occasionally that happens, but we'll talk about that too.
Great. Okay. Let's get into it. All right, Anthony, let's kick off with the opener.
Yeah, the opener. So you walk into a bar or you're at a party and you want to initiate some hypnotic experiences for people. Look, I'll say this. I am not naturally the demanding to be the centre of attention. So this is something I've had to pay attention to,
right,
and I've had to learn. And I've developed this approach by looking at walk-around magicians who are very good, some mentalists I admire, and even the work of pickup artists and
Okay.
who spend a lot of time thinking about their openers, approaching people on the street,
Yeah, because
approaching
they're going up
strangers.
to complete strangers,
Exactly.
like you say.
So, and ultimately, that's what you're going to be doing as a performer. And if you want to do street hypnosis or you're a magician, you want to introduce this to people you don't know, then at some point you've got to mention the words, you've got to say it. And we'll talk about covert applications and not saying it later on. But right now, let's imagine that we're going to be open about this. The first tip is kind of based on something that came from a discussion with Paul Brook. Now, if you don't know, Paul Brook is a fantastic mentalist. He's produced some great products and written some interesting books. And in one of his books, I believe it's called On Mephisto's Shoulder, that has some of his kind of darker effects in, he has a serial number from a banknote divination effect. And this involves walking up to someone you've never met before on the street or at a party and asking them if they have a wallet or a purse, asking them to take a note out of it, and then without touching it, without looking at it, you name the serial number that is stamped on that bill, and it's a wonderful effect. Okay, and obviously I'm not going to talk about the method, but what was of equal interest to me when I heard the effect was, but how do you walk up to a stranger and just ask them to get their wallet out and a note out? How does that actually happen? And Paul said something that I think is very relevant to hypnotists, and that is that he introduces himself as a performer. So he stops that person and just says, "Hi, I'm a performer. Can I show you something?"
So this is very general. It's not specific type of performer. It's just a performer.
Hi,
at the stage.
I'm a performer. So that gives you a huge amount of latitude with regard to the things you can then ask people to do. You can ask people to put their feet together. You can ask them to stand in a particular fashion. And as he's demonstrated, you can ask them to get a note out of their wallet, something they wouldn't normally do.
Yeah.
So that's the first point. I used to walk up to people and say, "We're hypnotising in here this evening," or "We're doing some filming, I'm a hypnotist," or "I'm employed by the bar to entertain this evening, I'm a hypnotist."
So you're giving a rationale behind it.
Yeah, some slight rationale.
Yeah.
But I've found it much more effective if I say, "Hi, I'm a performer, I'm a hypnotist." Okay?
Right.
So that's the first point, just using those terms. Performer gives you latitude, saying hypnosis introduces what you're about. Without even saying your name, you've introduced yourself. You are the hypnotist from that point. And their expectation is, well, I guess I or someone here may get hypnotised if we carry on talking.
And people are very, very intrigued, aren't they? You mention hypnosis and they go, "Oh,
yeah.
What is it?" I think a lot of people are, especially in these impromptu scenarios when they're not expecting to see perhaps a hypnotist, they think, "Well, what does it look like? What does it feel like to be hypnotised?" And there is that intrigue, but by saying, "I'm a performer" first, you've, introduced yourself as someone that's professional at what they do, obviously very confident and competent as well. And like you say, gives you that kind of
absolutely. And on my training courses for magicians, I train intensively in the morning, and then in the afternoon we go out on the streets.
Absolutely.
And,
I did the course with you, and
exactly.
you're straight in the field.
And the point is, you have to kind of pretend and master it. You do have to wing it a bit, and being professional, being prepared to call yourself a hypnotist rather than, I've learned this, hypnotic trick.
I've just learned this a few hours ago. Can I try
but
this?
the point is, as you know, because you hypnotise people, saying you're a hypnotist fires up that model they have of hypnosis. So even if they've only seen it in movies, even if they've only seen stage hypnosis on TV, or they've only seen a stage hypnosis act while they're on holiday in Spain somewhere, they've already got some kind of iconic images and the typical words that a hypnotist might use. So as early as possible, when I approach a table, I mention hypnosis.
To get it out there immediately.
Just to get it out there immediately, because some people will just naturally rise to the top and say, "I was hypnotised on holiday last year." "Oh, really? Was it a good experience?" "Yeah."
So
"And were you up there doing all the
person,
routines?" "Great." Well, I'm not going to focus on them immediately, but that's kind of like a little ace up my sleeve. I now know that I've got someone over there who's going to be gold.
It's
okay,
going to be great. Yeah.
So that's the first thing on openers. Just be a professional. Say you're a performer if it's relevant to your character and the setting you're performing in, and mention hypnosis. Say you're a hypnotist, and look at people as you say that. Okay.
Yeah, paying close attention to people, because some people will just go, "Oh." It's the same with anything.
Some people will lock onto you.
I'm a magician. They go,
Sure.
"Oh, I'm interested in that."
Yeah, and they're hanging on your every word.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. The other thing is just to be aware at this early stage of your body language, and I'm not going to preach to performers who've got years more experience than me, but just a few points on it that help me. Being open, so kind of being your best self, being
Okay.
kind of as big or bigger than the group.
Yeah.
And that involves kind of lots of open gestures, hands out front.
If like you're doing at the moment, you're
just
being
exactly
very
like
open,
I am at the
very
moment.
much
Approach
engaging people.
hi, I'm a performer, I'm a hypnotist. The other kind of mistake a lot of people make at the beginning is when one person shows them some interest and perhaps a couple of other people over this side of the group don't. Quite often, just for that to dive into that comfort zone, they zone in on that person straight away. Now you could have some fantastic subjects and potential in the rest of the group that you're missing. So at that point, even though you kind of make a mental note of that person who seems keen and fascinated, for that first minute, then my suggestion is to continue to be open and try and pull other people in.
Yeah.
So it's a few
What's nice about your approach as well, and the way you structure this whole approach to getting into the hypnosis is, like you say, if you've got people over here that are maybe a bit more reserved, the set piece that you do, everyone can get involved in. There's no pressure, and even if these people are more reserved, when this sort of stuff starts happening, the magnetic fingers, it's going to build their interest even more.
Yeah.
So if they are, sort of verging on being interested, but being a bit more reserved, not like these people who are jumping up and down over here, perhaps, that's going to pull them right in without you kind of taking any risk and thinking, should I just zone on these people?
Yeah.
Am I ignoring people?
So that's exactly it. So remain standing if that's the way you can include most people. Be open physically, look people in the eye, and just making a mental note of who's paying you most attention.
Yeah.
That's literally the only thing I'm doing there.
Okay.
Smiling, looking at who is locked onto me, who's fascinated already. Okay,
great.
So that's the first thing. The second idea is something drawn from the work of Doc Hilford, the monster of mentalism himself.
Absolutely.
Right, fantastic gentleman, fantastically creative mentalist, and. I looked at System 88, which is essentially, if you don't know, it's a cold psychological reading system.
Oh yes, this is
right?
with all the questions.
Exactly, the questions very, very and the cube and all this kind of stuff. And it's brilliant, and it's one of those things where, I'd kind of read it and looked at it and wondered if it would work, and, I'd heard that readings kind of drew people in, but that was never really part of my act. But I then got the opportunity to see Doc Hilford performing this in a bar in London. And he barely got through the door before he'd started, and 3 hours later he was still only a metre from the door.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to go into too many details about System 88. I do rate it. I do think it's a great system. You don't have to pitch yourself as being psychic. There are no props or anything involved. It's just done with mind to mind. But what I want to talk about is what he calls the approach, which is kind of equivalent to the opener that we're talking about now. Now, Doc's opening line is, I could ask you just 5 questions and know everything about you.
That's immediately intriguing, isn't it?
It's immediately intriguing. So it does a number of things. Firstly, it introduces who you are. Again, you may not have said your name, but you're obviously... the mind reading.
You're obviously
guy.
A mind reader, a psychic, something of that nature.
You obviously, it introduces your character. Secondly, it introduces the kind of the playground. It introduces, or gives the person an expectation of what's going to follow. Well, if I carry on talking to him, I guess we're going to play some kind of game, and he's going to try and get into my head, or. It may just be a complete unknown, and they're just like, oh, really? Or, no, you can't. But it elicits a response. That's the third thing it does.
Yeah, it gets something out of it.
So it introduces the kind of field that you're going to be playing in, and it also elicits a response. So in my opener, essentially I'm trying to achieve those 3 things. Even if it's saying, hi, I'm a performer, I'm a hypnotist, would you like to try something? So it does all that. This is, again, I'm just kind of backing up what I've said already. But when you're crafting your opening lines, try and achieve those 3 things. Make sure that they introduce you. Make sure they introduce the subject without having to give them 20 minutes of waffle about hypnosis and hypnotherapy.
Yeah, you're getting into this very quickly, aren't you?
Just getting straight into it and eliciting a response of either, because when you say hypnosis, you get one of a few responses. One is just like, oh,
get away from me, don't look at my eyes,
get away from me,
my
which is a fine response. There's nothing wrong with fear. That's good for narrowing the attention.
Yeah.
The other response is people point at a friend and just say, well, make him do something stupid.
Yeah.
Which again is all suggesting that it's fun and it's interesting, and that you can do that as well. And the other response is people are just fascinated enough to ask, yeah, I've never met a hypnotist before,
Yeah.
or I can't, you know, I've heard that so many times. I've never met a real hypnotist.
A real
before,
hypnotist,
you know, or they'll just say, what does it feel like to be hypnotised? Because they're intrigued, but they've still got a few, you know, it's a little bit nervous, a few concerns about it. So that allows you to then get into your actual setup. And
Yes.
we'll come to that. So. Yeah, that's
drawing
that's
on some,
thing.
you know, some stuff on Doc Hill for then System 88, which is it a manuscript or a PDF? That people,
I believe he
it's available,
sells it. Yeah,
yeah.
It's available. I think you
If
can
that
get it from
interests
Doc, and he sells you
people,
a set of his products. But you know, this is just the first part.
Yeah.
But it achieves a lot, and it's helped me kind of tweak my openers.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
One other set of ideas. Again, this is based on the self-styled guru of speed seduction, and I'm not going to suggest he is anything other than that. A gentleman by the name of Ross Jeffries.
An American.
An American guy. Yeah. He's been around for, you know, involved in this kind of world for, I guess, a couple of decades at least, and is extremely accomplished with his conversational language patterns.
Yeah, because I mean, this guy is just walking up to people on the streets and picking them up.
You know,
in
I don't know a huge amount about him, but
yeah.
he featured in a British TV show hosted by Louis Theroux.
Oh, yeah,
you may have seen it. It was called Weird Weekends, and he was actually tracing, following different hypnotists around the place.
Yeah.
One of the people he spoke to and interviewed was Ross Jeffries, who actually came across pretty well, given that it was a program run by Louis Theroux.
Absolutely.
And at one point, he was being taught by Ross how to approach women on the street, from stone cold, walking straight up to them, and, you know, with a view to talking to them, maybe getting their number.
Yeah.
All right. Now, Ross had a very, very simple approach to doing this, and it's kind of easy to remember. And again, I think it's relevant to us as performers, and especially as hypnotists. And the formula is compliment, introduction, question. In that order, do not skip any of the steps.
Compliment,
introduction question.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Are you thinking of this as a pickup tool? Or as a hypnotist?
I'm thinking of it as a hypnotist.
Right. So let's imagine we're in a busy bar.
Yeah.
You walk up to a table. You know, again, in this context, it's going to sound incredibly cheesy and dry. But, you know, what could a compliment be? It could be you walk up to a table and it's like, hi, it looks like this is where the party is.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you guys look like you're up for a laugh. Or you two look like you're quite creative. Or, you know, you look like an intelligent table. You look like a smart person.
Yeah.
You know, it's nothing too creepy. But just and the point about this is it can be any compliment at all. You just have to give people a compliment.
Right.
As soon as you've given them a compliment, you introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Chris. I'm a performer. I'm a hypnotist.
So you've gone straight.
Okay, so you've kind of got this little wedge in the door. You've now introduced yourself and you've introduced the playground. Okay, and then you ask a question. You know, so it's on the street. It's kind of like, I just noticed, you know, I just have to say, you dress with such panache. Your skull and crossbones tie is fantastic. I'm Anthony. You know, and then you ask a question. So in this context, compliment, introduce yourself in the playground again, and ask a question. Can I show you something interesting? Or can we play some mind games? Or, you know, are you up for trying something? Just simple stuff, again, being very open with your body language.
Yeah.
And I find that people just respond and say, yeah, show us something.
Then. So this is all, I mean, this is great because this detail, you know, it's all very, very essential. This is before you've even got into any of the set piece, you know, any of the induction or effects and that. This is literally just how you get up to these people and, you know, even introduce, you know, just introduce yourself generally, again, you know, whatever you're going to do.
Sure, and the only reason I'm you know, kind of labouring the point, because I appreciate this, when we boil it down, it comes down to a few sentences, is because I've been there. I've been there desperate to wheel out some hypnosis and wanting to try a new routine. I mean, I've been there with magic, and it's kind of, well, how do you initiate it? How do you get into it? And all I can say is that, you know, these are the techniques that work for me, and I know when I train people and they use these techniques that they work for them. You'll find that, you know, 60-70% of people will then get involved in the next thing you want them to do.
Absolutely, and I think you proved that very well, certainly on the course, and we'll see in the live footage how that really does work with the stranger. I mean, on the course, like you say, you do this intensive training, and all of a sudden, bang, let's go out into the middle of the street, and you do find yourself as someone on the course, just be with this confidence to approach people, just following this type of pattern of this opening piece. And it is quite surprising how many people are really up for it when you approach it in that way, as opposed to rushing up going, "Hi, can I hypnotise you?" They're probably going to go, "Oh, that's a bit odd." Whereas this, you've been very open, very very engaging, very polite as well. And you're going to get a better response because of that. Fantastic.
Indeed.
Okay, so we've done the opener, you've approached the group, you've done the introduction bit. Now you're into what you call the setup. So explain what that is.
Okay, well the setup is kind of what you're going to do prior to the actual physical exercises and processes you're going to use to hypnotise. So again, this may only amount to a few sentences, okay? And in a way, you may not even have to do it at all if your opener has been strong enough and your audience is receptive enough, okay? But there are a number of things you're trying to achieve with these opening comments and answering questions, okay? Firstly, quite often people have a fear of hypnosis.
Yes.
Right? It may be they fear that they'll never be the same again. It may be that they fear you'll make them look stupid. It may be that they'll suddenly spill the beans on that shady weekend they had away. People have a few different fears.
Because they don't know what to expect, though, do they?
They don't know what to expect,
sure
and there are some urban myths about it and this kind of stuff. So, if someone says, can you get stuck in a trance? Of course you can't get stuck in a trance. It's simply a focused state of concentration, okay? Is it safe? Those kind of things. Yes, it's perfectly safe. Again, be a professional and just come back to them. Just let them know that they'll be absolutely
remove all
fine.
those preconceptions and any doubts that they may have.
Yeah, if someone says, you're not going to make me look stupid, as much as you may plan to do something that's kind of out of the ordinary or even ridiculous, I'd say absolutely not. I'm not interested in making you look stupid. I want to give you an experience of hypnosis that you'll enjoy.
Yes. Okay,
so you're not really saying a great deal, but you're getting rid of those fears.
Well, you're answering their questions as well, aren't you?
Absolutely. You want to eliminate those misconceptions at the same time. Is it sleep? Will I be asleep? If you wish, then you can just say, look, it's not sleep. I know, hypnotists say sleep, but the people up there are not actually asleep. Okay. You want to begin to fire up their imagination. So letting them know this is going to be a fascinating experience. This will be a really enjoyable experience. I often at this point will, if someone's made clear that they're into sports or or they've done some of that, or they're into NLP, or or they're into self-improvement, then I'll make it as relevant to them as I can. Sometimes when I'm doing stuff on the street, I'll approach people who stand there with signs saying Pizza Hut or golf sale.
Yeah, the guys that stand there for hours and hours.
So if I wanted to get into one of those guys, I'd say, how long you got to stand here for? If they said 8 hours, I might say, if I could make that fly by in an hour, would that be interesting? I'm a hypnotist. Yeah, it would be. So, I'll say whatever I can to kind of get the people interested.
You're kind of slightly tailoring it as well to them, according to their responses.
Absolutely. And you want to fire up their imagination with regard to the experience, and also take control of the situation.
Right, okay.
So, and again, this is where the line starts to blur between the set piece exercises, which we'll talk about in a moment. But in taking control of the situation, it just means that at some point you become the dominant party in this hypnotic relationship. That doesn't mean you're authoritarian and you're suddenly all over them, putting your hand in their face. It just means that you're the professional, you're the expert, you know what you're talking about, and if you want someone to stand in a particular place or to put their feet on the floor or to look at you in a particular way, then that's exactly what you want to do. And if people aren't doing that, then it's a bit of a sign that they're probably not going to come along in your direction any further. Okay.
So you've got this, you can sort of find this out at quite an early stage as well. You're finding it out now. You can. You're clocking who's
indeed. Once you've kind of got the patter down and you can answer any kind of objection or question, then it frees up your headspace to actually observe people. And again, taking control is things like, okay, can you all just sit back in your chairs? Can you place your feet on the floor?
Once you get people to move, if I've been sitting here like this all night, once I've done this at your command, I'm sort of going with it now. I'm getting into it.
And this is not to say that hypnosis is just social compliance. I really don't believe that it is. I've seen enough things and people doing things
Yeah.
that would definitely challenge that idea. Okay, but at this very early stage, I do want people complying with me.
Right.
Okay, so at the tail end of this kind of setup process of getting them intrigued and letting them know it's going to be fascinating and interesting, I will typically go through what in sales they often call a yes set. I use this in the therapy room as much as anywhere else, and I will simply say, okay, I've said I'm the hypnotist, and you've said to me that you're interested in being hypnotised. I will say, okay, excellent. Can you place your feet flat on the floor for me? Can you just place your hands nice and lightly on your lap? Now just look at me. We'll save that one. But what you're essentially saying is, I'm saying, can you? You're saying, yes, Anthony. Can you? Yes, Anthony.
Can you? Yes. Can you? Yes.
Can you look here? Now, if the next thing I do is an induction, I'm essentially asking you to go into hypnosis. You're just going to say yes again, and
Yes,
you're going to go. Okay, so can you? Can you? Can you? Excellent. Boom, and I'll get straight into you following that. So that you can call that a yes set. But again, it's just a way of kind of physically getting people where you want them, because there are certain inductions where you want them feet flat on the floor, or if they're standing up, you want their feet together. So, part of it is to get them physically there, but part of it is just to give them a little psychological nudge in the right direction of yes.
And you're saying can you, as opposed to just saying put your feet on the floor, put your feet. You're going can you. Is that important? Is that relevant?
That is important.
Right.
If you say to a child, say 5 years old, can you tell me the time? Then very often they will answer either yes or no.
Yeah.
Because they take it literally. When you say, can you tell me the time to an adult, they tell you the time.
Yeah,
they don't say yes, unless they're a real funny guy, yes,
right.
I can. But, generally they just tell you what the time is. So, can you is permissive language. It's called a conversational postulate, if you look at it in terms of, the semantics of what you're actually doing. But it suggests that I'm asking you a question and I'm asking for your permission in some way, when I'm not. Really, it's a command. If I was being totally authoritarian, I'd say, put your feet together, put your hands on your lap. And don't get me wrong, that is a useful skill to have. Being able to simply boss people straight into hypnosis is good. But at this early stage, I don't want to create objections, and I don't want people to feel that they're being pushed around and bullied.
No.
So can you? Recently, a guy who saw me performing came up and questioned me on this afterwards. He said, I kept hearing you say, can you? And he was someone who was very concerned with the demise of good English grammar. Okay, so he was like, no, you shouldn't say that. You should be saying, would you? Would you put your feet on that? Would you? And I appreciate there's only a fine line of difference, but would you is slightly less permissive. Right? And it really appears to give you a choice.
Yeah. Because it almost is like, would you like to do this?
No, I wouldn't. And I've had that. If you say, would you, uncomfortable as I am, but you're going to be there for some time. Yeah, but I always sit and watch TV with my legs crossed like this. Whereas can you is just bang, 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 bang. It just slides straight into telling people what to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so is that pretty much covered the whole of the setup? So we've gone through the opening kind of, how you get into the group and that, and the setup piece now. So we've covered that. Are we going to go now? We're going to move into the set
piece exercises.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll move into
but just one more thing. From this setup, let's say you just wanted to work with an individual or two people in the group.
Okay.
By this point, you should really be able to make your decision. Okay. Generally, if I've got a group of people there, I will aim to work with the whole group.
Yes.
Yeah? Unless I know there's a couple of people who either don't want to take part or will disrupt things, in which case I'll make my selection and then move on to the set piece.
Okay, great.
Just a kind of final note.
Excellent.
Okay, so we've introduced ourselves to a group of people. We've introduced the idea of hypnosis. We've got rid of their fears. Now we're ready to get started with the action. We've said, do you want to see something? Okay. So, again, take control first of all. It's so important. It's very easy to forget that. Take control by asking them, can you place your feet on the floor for me? Can you put your hands on your lap? Okay. And we're then going to get into what I call the set piece Okay?
Okay.
Now, this is, if you haven't heard that term before, it's because it's a term I've made up
Okay,
and
great.
applied to this particular part of the act. But there's a reason for that. Many of these exercises that I include under this kind of umbrella of set piece are well known. They've been around for years. Some of them are overlooked as kind of simple physiological tricks, and sometimes they're presented as tests.
Okay.
So as much as I want to observe my subjects and get feedback from them, that's one of the major things I'm doing, I don't really see this stuff as a test, because 99% of people are going to pass these tests.
Yeah.
So, it's a bit like the examinations we have in school in this country, where 99% of kids get an A. It's the same sort of thing. Okay. So it's not just a test. You can achieve so much more with this. Yes, you're going to get an idea about who's listening, who's paying attention, who can follow simple instructions. More importantly, you get an opportunity to observe your subject or potential subject taking instructions,
right.
And you can do some of this with their eyes closed. So some people, I can assure you, simply being in the presence of someone who refers to themselves as a hypnotist is enough to put that person into hypnosis. I appreciate for the beginner that may be hard to believe.
Slightly nerve-wracking.
Yeah, but sometimes the moment you ask someone to close their eyes and start following the instructions, they're there immediately. So as the hypnotist, knowing that, I'm looking for some of the signs of hypnosis. This might be that they become very still. It could be their face flattens out. It could be their breathing shifts. It could be their eye reflex changes and their eyes start to flicker.
Right.
So I'm looking for any kind of physiological change that suggests they've changed their state.
Okay.
Okay. I'm looking for signs that they're concentrating and paying attention. It doesn't matter if people giggle or laugh. As long as they're listening and doing what you're asking them to do.
As long as they're following, because it is, I mean, even when you look at something like the magnetic fingers, you say it's been out there a lot, but a lot of people won't have heard of it or seen it before. So when they're sitting here and this starts happening, some people will find it sort of a nervous laugh almost. It's that kind of,
some people get a nervous laugh, some people are like, oh, and some people kind of panic and pull apart, even with something as simple as that. And you can do so much with this. You can, so you can observe. It gives your subject an opportunity to experience something. And again, this is very important for magicians, because, as I said, you may not necessarily get into some of the heavier hypnotic phenomena.
Right.
But if you've put a pack of cards down on the table, let's say you've introduced yourself as a performer, I'm a magician and hypnotist, and you put your cards down on the table. There's part of their mind which is expecting you to go to your...
go to
the cards and the card trick at some point.
Yeah.
So if you get into these exercises and you decide you don't want to push on with the hypnosis, then things are already in play, but they've experienced something and they kind of think that's it. So it's like having a magic routine where you have different options, you can phases, if you like, that you can jump out of it at. So it gives them an opportunity to experience something out of the ordinary. It gives the subject an experience to feel your influence, your power of suggestion, or whatever it is you're pitching them to be. So their confidence grows in you as a hypnotist, and your confidence as a hypnotist is going to start to grow in your subjects. The more you do these exercises with people, the more you're going to find that you can simply spot the person who is bang on for it in that moment and ready to be hypnotised. And obviously that comes with experience, and it comes with seeing how people react, and learning, how to qualify people and make the differences. But you're really starting to do that at this point.
Indeed.
Sorry.
The thing I was going to just bring a point there. The nice thing for magicians as well is if they do go up, and perform magician and hypnotist, put their cards down, and they do a couple of the set pieces, they can do that with absolute confidence, knowing that if they want to bail out after the set pieces, they can go into a card routine. And if they do, maybe it's a slightly mentalism based card routine. I mean, even for the audience, they've experienced something and you've done this, and maybe you do, I don't know, they name a card and it's, say, reversed in the deck or something, whatever it may be. Afterwards, all this set pieces appears to have been there for a reason. Whether you choose to go on and do hypnosis or not, they think, well, that must have been why that happened. That that all happened for a reason. So it's a lovely position to be in.
Exactly. So I will often use these set piece exercises as a selection procedure for a card effect.
Yeah.
And yes, I know the card effect's going to come off, but what I'm really doing is making a mental note of who is likely to be my best candidate.
Yeah.
So I then may do the card effect, may do trilogy or something with a stack, or
Yes.
the kind of stuff I do, and then come back to that person for some hypnosis at that point, or perhaps pick them off later in the evening. So it's a
Okay.
way of kind of covertly gathering information
Yeah.
by just running through this stuff, and it appears to be relevant. It gives a decent premise for some of the mentalism.
Well, so a point that you made there is doing the set piece and coming back to them later.
Yeah.
So with the set piece, say you've done the set pieces, if you went back to them later, you then go straight into an induction, or are you going to go through the set pieces again?
Look.
It doesn't have to follow.
It doesn't. You don't have to do a set piece.
Right.
You can go straight in with an induction after you've introduced yourself. That's
Right.
vital. I mean, what I've found, even though I spelt it out pretty clearly at the beginning of Reality is Plastic, saying that this is not a script, and many the component parts of it are not absolutely necessary.
Right.
Okay, it's all I'm trying to do is stack the odds in my favour.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously when people are learning stuff, they're like, well, this must follow that, and that suggestion must follow that. Not exactly.
Right.
But as a rule of thumb, again, 9 times out of 10, I do my setup in the way I've described, and I do one or two of these little exercises before I do the formal induction into hypnosis.
And also it's a performance then as well.
It becomes a performance.
It's a whole thing. It's the whole thing.
And the beauty of it is you can do this stuff on a group just as easily as you can do it with one.
Right.
And it gets everybody involved, and they all have a bit of an experience, and they can talk, well, that was a bit weird, wasn't it? Yeah, or, so just use it. What you're doing is you're firing up their imagination as well.
Okay.
Because to do these exercises well, your subject does need to concentrate. They do need to use their imagination. So again, much like you want to see if they're following your instructions physically, put your feet on the floor, put your hands on your lap, put your hands out in front of you, all this kind of stuff, you're going to see very quickly whether they are concentrating, whether they're using their imagination, or whether they're so concerned about what their friend's thinking over the other side of the bar that they can't keep their eyes shut,
right.
or whether they're terrified already.
And they're
some
already
people
getting nervous when this is happening.
But again, nerves and a bit of fear is fine if you can manage it and funnel it in the direction you want to go. The final point I want to make about these exercises, because they are simple and they will be overlooked by people because they're so simple, is this is the most powerful use of them, is that you can use every single one of these exercises as the induction into hypnosis. Okay. And basically I go up and do it, and if the person is doing really, really well with one of these exercises, then all you've got to say is sleep, and they'll be gone. They'll be straight in there.
Even with the magnetic fingers?
With magnetic fingers. Especially with magnetic fingers.
Wow.
Okay. And again, you will see that. Sometimes it's like you've got this elaborate plan, you're going to do a handshake induction or drop them back. Just bosh them in as soon as their fingers touch. Okay, and I'll show you how to kind of turn that into a more of a binary kind of test as well.
Right.
I'll just explain the terms that I use. We talk about analog tests and we talk about binary tests.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So it very simply means that let's say I was going to suggest that your hand was going to start to feel light and lift up. Okay. This, if I was to get this kind of movement, that would be a success. Right. If I was to get this kind of movement, it would be a success. Anything in between those 2 points would be a success.
Okay.
That's what I call an analog test. I can't really fail as long as I get something.
As long as something happens. Yeah.
But if I was to say you cannot lift your hand up off your leg, then it's a pass or fail kind of exercise.
I'm either going to do it or not.
Yeah. So with magnetic fingers, everyone, 99.9% of people are going to have this experience. Okay. If I was to then say your fingers are stuck together, you can't pull them apart, then I've gone a little bit stronger. Okay. I've started to test my work. I've started to challenge the person. Yeah. Testing your work is absolutely key. You don't have to do it at this point, but if they're really good and you want to push on and make a direct suggestion and get into a binary test, then I'd have no qualms about doing that from this point, because from there you can stick their hands together, you can float them around the bar, you can do whatever you want. Right. So imagined magnets and a genuine, honest, unconscious response, rather than someone playing along, a genuine unconscious response equal hypnosis as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
It's not sleep. I just want people to use their imagination and physically and mentally respond.
Yeah, and you're looking for that all throughout the set pieces.
Absolutely. If you go back to the definition of hypnosis I use, it is simply a process of communicating with they're unconscious. And again, when I say unconscious, I'm not suggesting it's real or that it exists. This is the model of mind that we're using.
Right.
I want a genuine unconscious response. To get that, especially at this early stage, I really need the person actively choosing to use their imagination.
Yeah.
So if I say, and again, sometimes I'll say, so if I ask you to imagine something, I want you to do your best to imagine it. If I ask you to get a feeling for something, I'd like you to do your best to feel it. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Are you ready to be hypnotised?
Yes.
Excellent, you always are. Right. So let's begin with the first exercise.
Okay, this is the first set piece. This is typically the one that will follow the setup.
Exactly.
Yeah? Okay.
Okay, what we're going to do is a couple of simple exercises to kind of fire up your concentration and your imagination. So if I ask you to concentrate on an idea, that's what I want you to do. If I ask you to imagine something, do your best to. Okay?
Okay.
Can you put your hands out in front of you?
Yeah.
Can you clasp them together nice and tight? So your palms are together and your thumbs are crossed on top. That's right. A nice tight unit. Bend your elbows like you're making a desperate prayer. You might want to make one while you're there if you like, Chris. Put your first fingers up about an inch apart and look at the gap between your fingers, because in a moment they will come together and touch like two magnets are pulling them together. That's right, they're already starting to go. You'll see them twitch. And again, I know it's a funny sensation, but that magnetic force will get stronger and stronger. You can see them twitching, and the closer they get, the stronger that real or imagined force will become. Millimeters to go now. When your fingers touch, what I'd like you to do is just close your eyes for me. That's right, magnets. Close your eyes, just relax. Just go inside and take a nice, slow, deep breath in. A nice, slow, deep breath in. And then just breathe out for a longer period of time. Excellent. Now open your eyes. You can pull your hands apart now and just place them back on your lap if you would. Good, that shows me you're concentrating. Now I'm going to ask you to concentrate in exactly the same way, but to use your imagination a little bit more.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Good. I'm going to ask you to put your hands out, not just yet, I know you're keen to go into a trance.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you to put your hands out 6 inches apart. I'll say close your eyes and imagine you have a powerful magnet strapped to the palm of each hand, pulling them together. Now they're going to move together automatically. It's a bit of a weird feeling with your eyes closed because you can't tell where they are, but they'll move together just like your fingers did. And when they touch, just let your hands drop down to your lap and just relax, and we'll get into this from there. Okay? So arms out in front of you. Look at the gap between your hands if you would. Get a clear picture of your hands stuck out there. Now close your eyes. With your eyes closed, imagine you have a powerful magnet strapped to the palm of each hand, pulling them together. They're already starting to go. They're getting closer and closer and closer together, and I can assure you they will touch. Imagine that magnetic force is getting stronger. That's right, fingers twitching, hands moving, fingers moving. You may even feel them getting closer. That real or imagined force now. The closer they get, the stronger that force becomes. That's right, just like you're a child playing with magnets and you feel that force pulling them together. In a moment, your thumbs or fingers will touch. And when they do, just let your hands drop down to your lap and drop into a nice, comfortable, relaxed state. You've got like an inch to go. Closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. Stronger and stronger, that magnetic force. That's right, you're doing brilliantly. When they touch, that's right. You'll find that your muscles relax as your arms drop down, and you can relax, just drop down. Take a nice, slow, deep breath in and just breathe out even more slowly. That's right, just relaxing in your own way. In a moment I'll say 1, 2, wide awake, and when I do, your eyes will open and you'll be ready for your next set of instructions. You'll be ready to be hypnotised. Nod your head if you understand. Good, 1, 2, wide awake. Excellent, you can pull your hands apart. Thanks for doing that.
Thank you.
Now this is the moment where you'd be hypnotised.
Okay.
It'll be all over for you by now. Okay, but we'll come to that point in a moment.
Great.
Another one I do, again, it's very straightforward, because with magnetic hands, you can do it with the person's eyes open.
I was going to say, with your eyes shut though, when you're doing it, genuinely you can't really tell where your hands are, and you don't really know how far you've got to go or how far apart they are, and you're just relying on your
That's one of the reasons
feedback.
I do that. I do this with the eyes open, and it's kind of visual and it's interesting, and you know they demonstrate that. But at some point, the subject is going to have their eyes closed, and I want them to get used to closing their eyes and opening their eyes and being comfortable with having their eyes closed with other people around. So I do this one with the eyes open, and just my own preference is to do the second one with the eyes closed. I get permission from them, and like you say, if you do this with your eyes open, it's pretty powerful, because you see your hands kind of moving in this sort of twitching like way, and eventually they get there. But with the eyes closed, you don't know where they are, and
you can't feel it.
You can't tell. So,
can't. I mean,
exactly. So for some people, Some people really do feel it and feel a force and sort of pull against it. And if they're pulling against it and losing, then they're definitely good to go. But for other people, you get to this point, suddenly something's happening, and suddenly they touch, and it's like a little spike in your brain.
You've got no idea what they are, and all of a sudden they are there.
And again, that's what I was saying earlier about giving people an experience of something. This is an experience of something, and if you do it with a group, even with an individual, it's entertaining enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Another key point here, and it's an easy mistake to make. I've said that these things are not tests, so personally, I don't use the word test.
Right.
You can use the word test and it will still work, but I don't want to set up a challenge kind of situation. Some people will naturally respond to you when you say you're a hypnotist. Like, yeah, go on then. And I bet you can't hypnotise me, and all this kind of stuff. I'm not interested in hypnotising people who don't want to be hypnotised for a start. It doesn't matter if they're kind of tentative or a bit nervous or I've always been interested, but I'm a little bit afraid. That doesn't matter. But with this kind of situation, you'll notice I'm not saying, I'm going to make your hands come together. It's not a power.
It's not about you.
It's not about me. It's about your imagination, your ability to concentrate, your real mind power, as opposed to me and how influential.
Well done. You did that well.
Yeah, well done. You're doing
concentrate.
Brilliantly.
This is all very positive, isn't it?
Constantly peppering it with little suggestions that they're doing well. And again, I kind of see this stuff as it's a bit like plate spinning. In that you're trying to just coax the thing along a little bit more. That's right, you're doing brilliantly. Even if they're not moving, I'll say that's right, they're already starting to go. Even if they're that far apart, I'll say only an inch to go. I'm just trying to encourage things in the direction I want them to be, get you to the place I want you to be, slightly before you get there. Okay. But like you say, with the eyes closed, it's a bit of a strange feeling, and then boom, your hands touch. Now, again, from this point, you can just go straight into telling them this. When your hands touch, you'll sleep, and talking people in that way. But generally, as I presented with you there, I'll simply give you another little task to do, which is take a nice slow deep breath in and breathe out for a longer period of time.
When you do that, you do find yourself, you are sort of just
you sort of slump forward,
slumping a little bit,
you give in physically. So this, again, it's not a necessary thing to do, but it's just another thing that I've suggested you do, and you've done, which is a bit more compliance. It does physically relax you. If you do it a few times, it'll disorientate you slightly because it's shifting your breathing. So I then give you a couple of procedural instructions. I'm starting to get into this now. So in a moment, I'll say 1, 2, wide awake. I haven't said sleep yet. No. I could say 1, 2, come back to the room. But 1, 2, in a moment, I'll say 1, 2, wide awake. Your eyes will open, and you'll be ready for your next set of instructions.
Implying that it is going to carry on.
Implying that something else is going to happen. Now, this was fun and this was interesting.
Let's carry on.
Ready for your next set of instructions, or ready to be hypnotised. Okay? Again, another unnecessary thing, but something I'll say quite often is nod your head when you understand. Now, I've never had anyone not nod their head at that point.
They're affirming it, aren't they?
They're reaffirming it. They're saying, yeah, I'm still with you. Yeah, I understand that. And then 1, 2, wide awake. Because in a moment, they're going to be feeling quite a bit of this. Control by touch. So it's just 1, 2, wide awake. No one's mentioned hypnosis. No one's mentioned sleep. No one said you're in yet. But there'll be certain people I'm already thinking, I've got. Yeah. So the induction then becomes a bit of a flourish, if anything else.
Okay.
But for now, 1, 2, wide awake. You come back to the room, ready to be hypnotised, ready for your next instruction. And that might be, I stick out my hand and we're into the handshake induction. It could be, could I borrow your arm and we're into the eye to hand fixation. It could be stand up, drop you into a chair induction. It doesn't matter. Okay, but I want to raise the tempo, and I want to keep the pace kind of.
It's building, isn't it?
Yeah, it's building up. It's building up.
Okay, so you're going to now break down the set pieces individually into detail, the specific points that you've gone over. We've demonstrated them, so let's start with magnetic fingers.
Okay, the first thing is to use this same conversational posture to continue in the same way. So if you haven't done it already, can you place your feet on the floor?
Right.
Can you put your hands on your lap? Right. And then with the first few steps to get them in the position you need them to do magnetic fingers, is the same thing. So can you put your hands out in front of you?
Yeah.
Can you clasp them together?
Okay.
Palms together, thumbs on top. Again, an absolutely clear instruction there. And
palms together is a
palms,
key bit here.
palms together, thumbs on top, because you'll get people who are like this.
Right.
My father does this with groups of 200 people. He's had people like that, wondering why their fingers won't come together. Okay. So again, this is a nice gauge of does this person have the ability to listen and follow instructions?
Okay.
Okay. So palms together, thumbs crossed on top. Bend your elbows like you're making a desperate prayer. Again, you don't have to say that, but you can make one while you're there. You know, it's just a little gag, right? And it's not trying to be a comedian. It's exactly what it's trying to do is set people at ease. Suddenly, you're not taking yourself too seriously. You know, bend your elbows like you're making a desperate prayer. It makes it absolutely clear that that's where you should have your hands.
Yeah.
At this point, some people go from here to here, and they lose the palms. So palms together. That's right. Put your first fingers up about an inch apart, or a couple of centimetres apart. Your first fingers, that's right. Again, make clear your index fingers, your first fingers, because you'll find some people really have to think.
Which ones are my index fingers?
Because they're looking at you, and some people think it's the little fingers.
Okay.
So they say your first fingers, your index fingers, about an inch apart.
Right.
And again, make sure it is about an inch. Okay. Again, you want the fingers pointing straight up. Okay. I then say, look at the gap between your fingers, because in a moment they are going to come together and touch.
Right.
Now, the reason I say exactly what's going to happen straight off is for some people this will only take 2 seconds.
Yeah, you can feel it. The longer you hold it here, because
you can feel it already.
Yeah.
Okay, so knowing that, get there first.
Yeah.
So you put your fingers up, look at the gap between your fingers, and if they're doing this as you are, looking back at me, then I'll say, don't look at me, just look at your fingers.
Right.
Because in a moment they are going to come together and touch. Just like two magnets getting closer and closer, they're already starting to go. You can feel that force. They're getting closer and closer. Again, I don't want to set up a challenge. So all I'm trying to say is magnets closer, stronger, doing brilliantly, and give you encouragement. And again, 99.9% of people are going to get there within 30 seconds. If it was longer than 30 seconds, then you're working very hard, and you may want to look elsewhere, or do something else. But the vast majority of people are going to experience this. And again, another thing to kind of look for is if they're keeping their hands really tight, then you'll start to see this kind of the knuckles going slightly white as this kind of magnetic force starts to take effect on their hands as well. So it's can you get in this position. Because in a moment your fingers will come together and touch, just like magnets. They're getting closer and closer, stronger and stronger. The closer they get, the stronger it becomes. Blah, 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 blah. And then when they get to like 2 millimetres apart, 3 millimetres apart, I use this permissive language and I say, and when they touch, you can just allow your eyes to close.
Which you do because it's...
Again, it's permissive because then it's just like a nice pace and lead. Well, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. Oh, he said when this is happened, I can allow that to happen. If you feel more pushy, you want to be more authoritarian, and you think they're bang on for it, then you just say, because when your fingers touch, your eyes will close.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a slight difference. You can use either. At this point, I tend to say, when your fingers touch, you can allow your eyes to close. I will then just task the person to take a nice, slow, deep breath in, and then to breathe out for a longer period of time, and they relax.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll then say, open your eyes. And again, some people will immediately pull their hands apart. If they don't, the hands still belong to me as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
So I will give them permission to take them apart. I'll say, you can pull your hands apart now.
It's almost like another command, isn't it?
Another simple command.
Thing.
Yeah. And again, other people around are thinking, were they stuck together?
Yeah, were they stuck together? Why did he have to unstick them? How did that work?
And I'll then just give the person a compliment again and say, excellent, that shows me you can concentrate. So I'm going to ask you to concentrate in exactly the same way. But this time I'll ask you to use your imagination a bit more and close your eyes. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay, so here I've found a reason, if you like. I've given a justification for why they're going to do this next thing with their eyes closed.
So it segues nicely into the next thing.
Exactly, it goes straight into it. Concentration, and then concentrate in the same way and use your imagination. The reason I say concentrate in the same way is because some people are following me so directly at this point. As soon as I say that, they put their hands up again. And I just say, well, just hold on, I know you're keen, or I know you're ready to be hypnotised. Again, it's another suggestion that this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll ask you to concentrate again, but to use your imagination a bit more. I'll ask you to close your eyes. Is that okay with you? Yep, fine. So now I've got that permission and all's good. I will then show them. So with this one, again, you don't have to do this. You could get straight into it.
Okay.
My preference is to show them what I want them to do and then to do it. It takes another 20 seconds, but it doesn't matter. So I'll ask you to put your hands out in front of you about 6 inches apart.
When you do that, though, it's really weird. Just to say a point, you can't help but go to do this.
Yeah, and that's because I leave this bit of ambiguity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I might say in a moment, but if I just say, I'll ask you to, I'm still saying it's going to be in the future.
Yeah.
But a lot of people just immediately find their hands going out.
Let's go.
I know you're keen, blah, 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 blah. You know, again, a little joke, a little bit of putting them at ease there.
Yeah.
I'll say put your hands out in front of you. I'll say imagine you have a magnet strapped to the palm of each hand. And I'll say close your eyes and imagine those magnets are being pulled together. And now I'm genuinely doing this in my own mind. I'm imagining there are magnets on my hands.
So
I really am concentrating. I'm going to get the same sort of timing. I may twitch a finger every now and again. I may flutter my eyelids to kind of give them an idea about what a hypnotised person looks like. I'll put my head forward slightly. And I'm trying to kind of mirror the physical position of someone who is going into a trance.
Right.
So, but essentially this gives me an opportunity to rehearse everything I might say to you. So it'll be just like magnets coming together. The closer they get, the stronger it'll become. It's a bit of a weird feeling because you can't tell where they are with your eyes closed. But just like your fingers, they'll move, they'll touch. And when they touch, just let your hands relax. And we'll get into this from there. Is that okay? Yeah. So the bit at the end, we'll get into this from there, leaves it open again. It might be that when their hands drop, I say now just go deeper and deeper and deeper into that sleep, deeper and deeper into hypnosis, and they will. It might be that we then do another exercise or we then do the induction. But either way, I'm just trying to keep my options open.
Yeah.
Let me just say this. If you're someone who wants to do this with the eyes open, or you kind of forget to ask the person to close their eyes and they're doing this with the eyes open, again, you can get there. But if it's taking a bit of time, the same with magnetic fingers, because you know, generally we do that with the eyes open. If it's taking a bit of time, then just say, now close your eyes.
Right.
And you can kind of intensify things. It's just it's another excuse to close their eyes. But it's sometimes if people are a little bit difficult or they're just
if they're sitting here for ages,
they're sitting there for ages. Say keep concentrating. Picture those magnets. Now close your eyes and picture them in your mind. See them pulling together. Turn that magnetic dial up. You know, and the same with magnetic hands. They're moving, but it's just taking too long. You know, close your eyes now. Yeah. Feel that force developing between them. Yeah. So nice and simple. At the end, the hands touch. Bring them down to here.
Right, so let's just run through the magnetic hands thing just step by step, so as you would do it. So talk through the exact instructions. So we've just
done this, and I've said fingers touch, close your eyes.
Here.
You know, take a deep breath in, breathe out. Excellent. Eyes open.
Yeah.
Excellent. That shows me you're concentrating. I'm going to ask you to concentrate in exactly the same way, but this time to use your imagination a little bit more. So I'll ask you to put your hands out in front of you like this. I'll then say close your eyes and imagine you've got a powerful magnet strapped to the palm of each one. Your hands will move together automatically. I don't want you to pretend. I don't want you to push them together. They will move together automatically, just like magnets, and they'll touch. When they do, just let them drop down and relax, and we'll get into this from there. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Good. Hands out about shoulder height. Look at the space between your hands. This is a little point. Again, this is just more physical control. It's getting them used to the fact that I'm allowed to touch them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wherever they are, I will just move them. Sometimes slightly. I just put them back in the same position again. Okay. Look at the gap between your hands. I want their attention narrowed, focused on that. I don't want them looking at me and looking at their buddies. Look at the gap between your hands. Get a clear picture of your hands stuck out there. Now close your eyes, and with your eyes closed, imagine those powerful magnets pulling together. Pulling your hands together, that's right, closer and closer. They're going even faster, closer and closer and closer. Turn up that magnetic force in your mind. Every time I click my fingers, it will become stronger and stronger. Your hands twitching now, your fingers twitching, that's right. Closer and closer, you don't have to pretend this. They're getting closer and closer, they will touch. That's right, closer and closer, stronger and stronger. And when they touch, you can allow your arms to drift down, the muscles to relax, and you can drift down and relax. That's right, a centimetre to go now. Fingers touching, palms touching, and just relax all the way down. Take a slow, deep breath in, and just breathe out for a longer period of time. Now, 1, 2, wide awake.
It's a weird feeling, that. It really is. It's very kind of, you do just sort of feel like you're just completely sort of relaxed. And that is genuine. I'm genuinely doing it every time. You know, we haven't sort of, you know, stooged this up
Not at all.
for people
you can
watching.
Go out,
you know, this is
you
genuinely how it happens.
I have an 8-year-old he can do this as effectively as anybody else.
Great.
So, it's not that it's difficult, but use it. Please don't ignore it because it's simple. You'll find this does entertain people, and it does allow you to go straight into the hypnosis. If you've got an eye for
people
what you're
that if there are people watching and you're doing this with maybe 1 or 2 people in a crowd, to see like their mates with their eyes shut and this happening is tremendously odd for them.
And it draws a crowd.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's like, hang on, what's happening over there?
Well, I've noticed that with watching you work before in in a bar or even like in a big shopping centre. You start doing something because there's this physical stuff going on. People are really interested. They're immediately looking.
Yeah.
And by the time you get, what's nice about using the set pieces is by the time you get to say the induction itself, or you've just put them under, you've got a massive crowd already now because they're all
and you could then do this on the
looking.
entire crowd.
Yeah.
And just say, do you want to see something else? And they do, and you can essentially pitch the hypnosis aspect of being more of the same.
Yeah.
Which it is really, using your imagination and concentrating on an idea.
Great.
So we're done.
There we go. Let's talk about the heavy card.
Yeah, heavy card is kind of more of the same in that you're just locking their mind around a single idea. The idea this time is that their arm is going to drop down. Now, we already know from the old light heavy arm test that it's kind of easy to talk someone's arm down.
It's fatigue, isn't there, when this is out there as well,
I mean, we'll get into the physical reasons why this works in a moment. But yeah, there's some fatigue, but you want to make this happen with suggestion.
Right.
So, you're a magician. It's if cards are part of your act, obviously you can do this with business cards as a way of introducing yourself as well. But it's very, very straightforward. It's more of the same. I normally say, do you know what the heaviest card in the pack is? It's a bit of a stupid question. Some people just say 8 of spades.
Yeah.
I may put the 8 of spades on there. Most people say the 8 of spades.
Yeah, it's quite an iconic card, and one that people think of immediately anyway.
So, generally I'll have that to hand. And I'll just say, and I'll put that card on their hand. An alternative to this is to show them that card and just to top change it out straight away, or double lift, show them that card, and then to put another card on their hand face down, and then you can get their hand to lift back up again. But we'll come to that. Let's just talk about the basic idea. So first off, in all of these exercises and in the inductions I'm going to show you, I want you to get used to getting this physical control of the person.
Right.
You want them to feel comfortable. Generally, I let people know if I'm going to touch them, but there are certain simple touches that you can get away with that allow you to get inside that person's personal space, essentially, and get them used to this kind of thing. So I'll say, can you just put your hand out about shoulder height? Okay, and again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to move your hand ever so slightly.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to put that card right on top there, and I want you to look at that little spot there. So again, the longer I talk, the more tired your arm's going to get, and I want to stack the odds in my favour. Yeah. So I'll just say, that's right, just a tiny adjustment, and I want you to just keep looking at that point. By asking you to look at a point, you're concentrating. There is process involved that appears to have some sort of meaning. And I want your attention focused. So it might be the corner of the card, or it might be that spot. But concentrate, and I will then say, close your eyes. Now, with your eyes closed, imagine that card is a weight. It is a heavy weight pushing down on your hand. And it's going to push your hand all the way down to your leg. Keep concentrating on that idea. And again, I'm not going to go through this all again. But open your eyes, Chris, put your arm out.
Yeah. Your hand does start to feel like just... It does.
Well, it will, because that's what happens. If you think of biting into a lemon vividly enough, you will salivate. If you imagine there's a heavy weight on your hand, it doesn't matter. Your body has to respond like there is. So it may not just go down like that, but you're going to talk it down. And this is an important point with regard to magnetic fingers, especially magnetic hands, and this kind of heavy card piece. Is that as the hypnotist, you just have to keep talking. You just have to keep this thing going. Yeah. So you're going to hear a few particular phrases that I use a lot. One of them is "that's right." And this is straight out of the genius hypnotist Milton Erickson's handbook.
Okay.
That's right. It's a way of pacing what you're doing. So you don't know where your hand is. You don't know if you're doing well. You don't know if you're concentrating enough as the subject.
Right.
So by saying "that's right," I'm giving you some encouragement. And every time I see a movement or I see a hand twitch, that's right, fingers twitching. That's right, hand moving.
So you're picking up on, you're just really being very, very observant.
I'm just saying exactly what I can see.
Right.
That's right, hand moving. It's getting closer and closer, heavier and heavier. That's right, hand moving down. So it's the same with the magnets. You know, what I'm trying to do is find 4 or 5 ways of saying your hands are magnets, they're getting closer. You know, just like a child playing with magnets.
You're cycling those over if necessary.
The closer they get, the stronger they get. Lower it gets, the heavier it gets. You know, over and over and over and over and over until
it happens. You just got to go with it and confidently just keep going with it.
Yeah.
And just observe, like you say, observing what's happening. So if their fingers are twitching, mention that. If they, if their hand is sort of shaking, mention that and use it.
And indeed, and if their breathing shifts, mention that. That's right. As your breathing shifts, more and more and more and more. Heavier and heavier and heavier, closer and closer and closer and closer and closer.
Fantastic.
Okay, and if there's no movement at all, say, that's right, it's getting heavier and heavier, and you'll get the flow going. You'll get the thing started.
You genuinely don't know when your hand is out. You
you don't really know
where it is.
And you'll want, is it moving, is it not moving? Now, if you're thinking, is it moving, is it not moving, trust me, it's moving.
Yeah.
It's already going in that direction.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little bit on that, and again, you'll see in performance that doing this stuff with a group works really well. Without getting heavily into NLP, because a lot of it is fluff.
Right.
It kind of complicates things. But engaging the person's senses, saying, see it, see that weight on your hand. Picture those magnets in the tips of your fingers. Feel it. As you listen to me, pacing what I'm doing and linking that to where I want you to go.
So let's just talk about that a second. That pacing and linking, pacing and leading as you do. As this happens, this will happen.
Again, so what I'm looking to do, especially at this early stage, is to make pacing statements.
Right.
That is to say things which I know you will verify as being true.
Okay.
Yeah, and then to shift to things that you cannot verify as being untrue. Okay. So I start by saying, that's right, your hands are moving closer and closer together, closer and closer. And as they get closer, as I continue to speak, that magnetic force will get stronger and stronger.
Okay.
So the last statement is not necessarily something you can verify at that point.
No, I can't tell you either way.
But it's certainly nothing you can deny.
Sure.
So again, saying that's right, saying as you concentrate, as I continue to talk, well, these things are going to continue to happen. So as I say them,
your kind of mind goes. You're saying as I continue to talk, that's happening.
That's
you're
happening.
Interested,
so
you're
the next thing is
the
kind
next
of accepted
thing.
as a given.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So that's the set pieces.
Indeed.
Brilliant. Right, Anthony, you've done your opener, you've done your setup, and you've done the set pieces. You've got someone that's done this all brilliantly. The magnetic hands. Now it's time for the induction itself.
Indeed. Hypnotic inductions. There are thousands, and if you look on the internet, you'll find thousands. They can be grouped in different ways. You can talk about progressive inductions, relaxation inductions, rapid inductions, instant inductions, and kind of on it goes. In an entertainment setting, generally I only use what I'd call rapid inductions, and by rapid I simply mean the process, the steps we're going to go through are not going to take longer than a minute, and most of the time they will take seconds, so maybe 2 seconds, or it may be 20 seconds.
Wow.
But this is going to be over pretty quickly, and from there we're going to start to deepen it and test our work and get into the routines. Okay. So I find in this setting, because I tend to use these sort of exercises and there's magnets involved and the hands are in strange positions, the inductions I prefer to use also involve people's hands and arms. Okay. So the first one I'm going to describe is what I call eye to hand fixation.
Right, okay.
And it starts off with a kind of permissive, again, I'm going to get permission. You've done well at this and your eyes are closed, and I've said 1, 2, wide awake, and I've said, brilliant, you're going to be good at this, or you've got a great imagination. Are you ready to be hypnotized now? And they say yes.
Right, yes.
Okay. So, are you left-handed or right-handed?
I'm right-handed.
You're right-handed. Okay, can I borrow your arm?
Yeah.
Yeah? I'm going to borrow this one.
Okay.
I'm going to take hold of this hand, and I'm going to lift it up, and I'd like you to just look up here, just look at the lines on your hand. Now pick one spot and keep your eyes fixed on that spot. You don't need to say anything. Keep your eyes fixed on that spot. As the hand begins to move towards your face, your eyes will begin to change focus. That's right. As you become aware of your eyes, close your eyes and sleep now. Deeper, deeper, deeper down, sinking, floating, drifting down, all the way in, deeper and deeper and deeper. Every breath you take, every word I say, you can continue to relax now. That heavy head, like a bowling ball, is getting heavier and heavier and heavier as your neck relaxes and your shoulders relax. You are drifting to sleep, deeper sleep, deeper sleep. You're going to know you're in it because this hand is going to start to be pulled up toward the ceiling, pulled up toward the sky, like it's being lifted up on a cushion of air. Like, that's right, fingers twitching, hand moving, like it's being pulled up by an invisible force for some unknown reason. And as those fingers lift, and as that hand drifts up off your leg, that's right, you're going 10 times deeper to sleep into a profound state of hypnosis. You can be aware of sounds around you, and you can hear the sound of my voice. No outside sounds important now, just the sound of my voice. Hand lifting, that's right, wrist lifting now. Pulled up lighter and lighter and lighter. Every time I click my fingers, imagining you're adding helium balloons and it's pulling your arm up toward the ceiling, up toward the sky. You're doing wonderfully. Now in a moment I'm going to click my fingers, and when I do, your arm will drift back down again. And you'll sit up, and for some unknown reason you will believe that your name is Jenny. It will be entirely normal to you and not even be amusing. Your name is Jenny Camel Humper the Third. Jenny Camel Humper the Third, and you're from a long chain of camel humpers. You're very proud of your name. Your name is Jenny Camel Humper the Third. Nod your head when that's understood. That's right, when I click my fingers, your hand will drop down and you'll sit up. You won't even believe you've been hypnotised. You'll just be back in the room wide awake. That's right. How you doing?
Yeah, fine.
You feeling okay?
Yeah, it's weird though. It's a weird feeling when you sort of...
It is. It's quite warm, isn't it? What's your name again? I'm terrible with names.
Jenny.
Your name's Jenny. What's your surname? I've got an unusual surname,
Jenny.
Jacquin. What's yours?
Jenny Camel. Jenny Camel Humper. Camel Humper.
Camel Humper.
Yeah.
Jenny Camel Humper. Is that a...
The third.
You're the third? Yeah? And do people ever laugh at you? Camel Humper is a bit of a strange name, isn't it?
Not really, no.
Are you quite proud of your name?
Yeah. It's my name, isn't it? So.
Excellent. Okay, just look at your hand for me. Look at your hand, look at your hand, look at your hand, look at your hand, look at it. Keep your eyes on it, keep your eyes on it. And sleep now. Deeper, 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 deeper. Sinking, floating, drifting down, all the way down. This time I'm going to wake you up properly. On the count of 5, you'll be wide awake and alert, feeling great. You'll know, of course, that your name is Chris. Everything back to normal. So 1, every muscle, nerve and fibre coming alive. 2, feel a surge of energy pouring in through your fingers now and your toes, beginning to sit up. 3, take a deep breath. That's right, a deep breath in. Fill your chest up with energy giving oxygen all the way in. Another deep breath, your head being washed through with cool spring water now. Your eyes clearing, your nose clear, throat clear, chest clear. You can put your arms down. That's right, 5, eyes open, wide awake. Excellent. What's your name?
Chris.
Thank goodness for that.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, let's just...
It's a very strange thing. I still find it really odd, the whole feeling, because I want to talk about it for people watching, because when you're down like this, you can still hear everything. Everything seems very, very normal. It doesn't seem like...
I'm so glad you said that, because for me, the point is, everything is normal. You know, when you're learning hypnosis, some people get it by hypnotising other people and realising they're gone. There's no way they'll be doing that, or their response is genuinely unconscious. Other people, I appreciate, need to get it, but need to get it by experiencing it, and some people do, and some people get part of it. Okay.
Yeah.
But my perspective is that everything else is normal. We're all going around with our own version of reality.
Right.
Okay, and obviously we believe in it. It's real.
Yeah.
You think you know what your name is.
You have no reason to think anything otherwise.
Of course you don't. Okay, so when I tell you that your name was Jenny a moment ago, whether you believe me or you believe me not, but the point is, in that moment, everything else was normal, except for one belief of yours. You believe your name was Jenny Camel Humper the Third. It's that simple.
Sure.
Okay.
As ridiculous as it sounds now, though, it's a good example to demonstrate it with something really quite ridiculous like that, of just how normal it does appear to be.
I know there were people watching thinking he's playing along, he's being stupid, but if you go out and test this and you change someone's name, then they will defend the fact that that's
it is,
their name.
because people watching it might think, oh yeah, is he kind of just playing? But I'm genuinely not, and I suppose almost a good thing for people that maybe have that perception is to maybe watch this and learn this with someone else that's into it. You know, watch it and learn it with a friend and do it on each other, so you can get that
Exactly.
that feeling.
Right. So the point is, you've now got a new version of reality. It's as real as the old one was.
Yeah, it's completely the same.
It's exactly the same. It's just now one belief has shifted. So as a hypnotist, that's how I'm proceeding. Really, I'm changing one key belief at a time.
Yeah.
You could go about your day. You could be in the shop. You could do your work, but you'd believe your name is Jenny if anybody asks. I can assure you of that. Okay. So let's talk about the induction. That's what we're going to do. It's permissive, first of all, and the reason I want to show you this one first is because in a moment I'll show you the handshake induction, which is a bit more of a surprise.
Right.
It contains this kind of pattern interrupt, as people say, but it's actually exactly the same wording as eye to hand fixation.
Yeah.
It's just the first phase is different. So again, I'm into process, and I think Banachek calls it the old witch doctor effect.
The witch doctor effect,
of putting meaning on what you're doing, even though it doesn't really have a meaning.
Yeah.
So I tend to say, are you left-handed or right-handed?
Right-handed.
You're right-handed. Okay, in a moment I'm going to borrow that arm. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
And I generally point to their arm. Again, we're sitting very close together, so you couldn't really see that. But I will generally point to their arm, and I am saying, can I borrow your arm? This is a strange way of speaking about someone's arm. Some people will just put their arm out and say, yeah, okay.
Okay, go on.
But I want to turn this into an object. I want it to become slightly abstract.
Right.
So I'm going to say, okay, can I borrow your arm? I've now got permission to touch you.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to take the arm that is most convenient for me to work with. It's that simple. So generally I'll be about here, and I'd say, okay, I'm going to take hold of your wrist, and I'm going to take hold of your wrist.
So how you grip
with this kind of grip.
Right.
So with the thumb and the first two fingers.
Okay.
So I've got the thumb, I've got my
middle finger there.
Middle finger here, and this finger on the back. And I'm going to lift you up. And the reason I grab you like that is because I have an increased amount of sensitivity. So I now know that if I was to take away these two fingers, I could hold it there just by maintaining contact. In fact, if I let go, your arm would stay there all by itself. Other people have a very heavy arm, and they've interpreted my instructions as to be completely loose. And if you hold them like that, you kind of encourage that. It either gets a bit stiff or it just becomes heavy, and you can't feel anything.
No.
Right? So I hold you like this, and I'm going to, again, kind of position this like I'm very particular about it. The ideal is I want it above, just slightly above your eye line.
So you're looking up.
So you're looking up, which is all good for kind of tiring your eyes and fixating your attention. And I will say, look at the lines on your hand and just pick one spot on your hand. And I'm looking at your eyes from that point on to make sure that you've done exactly what I've asked you to do.
Right.
So look at the lines on your hand, look at one spot. Now we're going to get into some more pacing and leading. And there's kind of 3 steps. As that hand moves towards your face, now at this point I'm actually pushing your hand towards your face, right? But I'm trying to feel for when it starts to move by itself, and I'll test it by taking off a thumb or a finger. As that hand moves towards your face, that's a statement of fact. Yeah? I know it's going to move towards your face, and I'm going to push it there.
Okay.
Yeah? As that hand moves towards your face, your eyes will begin to change focus. That is also a statement of fact, because at some point between here and here, your eyes have to change focus. They're going to blur. Okay, so statement of fact, statement of fact. That's the pacing. As the hand moves towards your face, your eyes will begin to change focus. And as you become aware of your eyes, now that's not so much pacing as forcing you to put your attention back on your eyes. It's kind of a meaningless statement. But it allows me to slide straight into a command. So as the hand moves towards your face, your eyes will begin to change focus. And as you become aware of your eyes, close your eyes and sleep. Go deeper, deeper, deeper down, sinking, floating. That's right, all the way in, all the way in, all the way back into that place of hypnosis. When I count to 3, you'll be eyes open, wide awake and alert. 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Okay. So
that's a very odd thing, because it's what strikes there is even you're kind of explaining it through. It's very, very gentle. It's not in any way kind of harsh or obtrusive in that.
A lot of people think
because there's this common sort of vision of like this bosh sleep. And
kind of pulling people's arms, pushing their heads
Granted,
forward.
there are ways of that, but
there are ways of doing that, and if you know how to kind of manage the sort of health and safety aspects of it, then I appreciate if you want to take those risks that you could do that kind of thing. But with this, as far as I'm concerned, it perfectly fits everything we've done up to this point. It's permissive, it involves their arms, it involves doing things that are slightly out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it's not all about speed.
No.
I tend to keep it at a kind of regular talking pace. As you look at that, as you look at that, as this happens, close your eyes, sleep.
Yeah.
So that the timing of the last bit, and if we just get back into that position again, okay.
With this hand, yeah.
We're here, we're here, we're
Yeah.
here. I want to get to this kind of point so that
Right.
I can drop my hand in front of your face or click my fingers near your face, or ideally do both, because that's going to
Right.
encourage your eyes to close.
Yeah.
Okay, you haven't really got a point. So I'm going to say, as it gets towards your face, as you become aware of your eyes, I then give an absolutely direct command. Close your eyes, and I follow that, and you don't have to this time,
Yeah,
but I
'cause
follow
you
that
do,
with
you
another
can-
direct command,
but
which is
even-
close your eyes and sleep. So
Even
you're
doing
kind
that
of...
though, your eyes kind of, because you've been used to up here, then this moves and you can't help but
You can't help it.
slightly follow it
You
down.
can't help it. And again, is that cheating? Is that kind of faking it? No, it's stacking the odds in your favour.
Yeah,
as a
you're just
hypnotist.
building it up and up and up in your
So bam,
favour.
Bam, 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 bam. Close your eyes, sleep.
Yeah.
And again, I do this.
This pushing on the
but
back,
but
let's
it's
talk
actually
about
very
that.
straightforward.
Yeah.
It's just encouraging their head forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
You only have to give it a nudge and your head
Now,
will go anyway.
You're going to get a variety of responses at that point.
Mm.
Okay. Let's assume all is going well.
Yeah.
Some people will just go boom, their hand will drop down. If their kind of model of hypnosis is their body relaxes completely and their head drops forward, then some people will just go bang, like that. Other people, you'll say close your eyes and sleep, and they'll stay there, and there'll still be this gap between their hand and their head.
Yeah.
Other people, as you touch their head, they'll be in this kind of position. Right? So again, this is what I call leverage, that you as the hypnotist have leverage. By that I mean, it's kind of like playing a game of catch. But in this
Right.
situation, I've thrown the ball, but it's like I've still got the ball because you're now in a very unusual situation. You're sitting there with your eyes closed and your hand in the air, and you're kind of waiting for me, the expert, the hypnotist, to give you...
You're waiting for something else to happen
You're
now
waiting for
because
something
you've got
else to
so
happen.
used to you saying
Okay.
this is going to happen, this is going to happen. Now you're just
Exactly.
waiting.
So bearing that in mind, the next thing to do is use this leverage you've got.
Right.
So if I see that arm starting to come down, as far as I'm concerned, it's still my arm, it still
Yeah.
belongs to me. So I'm going to say, as your arm drifts down, you can drift down with it. As the muscles relax, you can relax. So it's more pacing and leading
Yeah.
the person in the direction I want to go. If it was there, I could say, now you're going to feel that hand sticking to your head like a magnet. I could get straight into an actual routine
Yeah.
and get them in this position
Get
where,
them so
where,
that
where the
you
hand...
physically can't.
Now they're really stuffed. I mean, this went well. Why wouldn't it make sense for magnets to stick to your head?
Yeah,
now?
they've got every confidence that this is going to happen.
This is
now.
going to happen,
Yeah.
and it will happen. And the alternative is I'll talk it up, or I'll start talking the other hand up. I'll start pulling this one up toward the head. And again, now we're into... You can't really fail at this because something's going to happen. Your finger's going to twitch, or it's going to get up towards your head. And you can then link that to the next thing. That could be the hypnosis deepening. It could be becoming more comfortable with the process, or it could be, again, some other reaction. So that's eye to hand fixation. Obviously, it's in the book. I hope that's enough detail. But
yeah, it's good. I mean, let's for the sake of the people at home, is there specific bang 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 points of that? So you've got lifting that. Let's just go over the
okay,
bullet
we'll go
points
over
of it.
Bullet points again.
Yeah.
Are you left-handed or right-handed?
Right-handed.
That just establishes some process.
Yeah.
In a moment, I'm going to borrow your arm. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
That gets permission.
Yes.
Okay. It turns the arm into something of an object. I want you to look up here. That fixates their attention. Look at the lines on your hand. Now just pick one spot. That narrows their attention down. It really encourages them to concentrate. I'm then going to pace and lead. As the hand moves towards your face, your eyes will begin to change focus. As you become aware of your eyes, close your eyes and sleep deeper, deeper down. As that arm drifts back down to your leg, you can drift down with it. Deeper and deeper and deeper to sleep, into a wonderful place of absolute bliss. That's right, a place of absolute bliss. Now in a moment, this hand is going to start to move towards your face. Just like your head's a giant magnet and your hand's a magnet, you're going to feel this hand move towards your face now. It's going to start to be pulled there. The closer it gets, the better you're going to feel. For some unknown reason, as you feel that hand moving towards your face, you're going to be enjoying a growing sense of well-being. completely at ease, letting go of any inhibitions. That's right, as that magnetic force pulls your hand towards your face. That's right, you can even begin to sit up. And with your eyes closed, that magnetic force will get stronger. That hand will continue to be pulled towards your head. And the closer it gets, the funnier it's going to seem. For some unknown reason, as it gets closer, it's going to put a smile on your face. That's right, that smile is going to turn into a giggle. Closer and closer, the closer it gets, the funnier it's going to seem. Every time I click my fingers, it's going to get 10 times funnier. And for some unknown reason, it's going to remind you of something funny that you haven't thought of for years. Something that when your unconscious mind finds it, you are going to crack up laughing. This is something a story you can barely relate to people. That's right, when it touches your head, you're just going to laugh and laugh and laugh. And you're going to laugh so much. That's right, funnier and funnier and funnier. You can't stop laughing now. It's impossible for you. It's funny. You're back there now. You're seeing what you saw, you're hearing what you heard, and you're feeling what you felt. This is absolutely hilarious to you. And it's going to get funnier and funnier with every passing second. What's going to be even funnier is you're going to realise that your hand is stuck to your head now. It's stuck to your head. It's glued there. And when you try and move it, you'll find you can't. That's going to seem funny to you. As the funnier it gets, the more stuck it's going to get. It's like it's super glued. It twitches. You try and pull it, it gets stuck. Stuck. That's right, completely stuck. But it's hilarious to you. It's absolutely hilarious. You can open your eyes and it'll get 10 times funnier. You can sit up and it'll be 10 times funnier. That's right. You can look around the room and you're stuck. You're absolutely stuck. And it seems hilarious to you. There's nothing you can do about it. Can you pull your hand off your head? Are you sure? Are you trying? Try it. It'll get even funnier. I mean, what's that mean? It's glued
it's
there.
Like my hair.
What is it? I'll tell you what's really funny. This one's stuck as well. This one's completely stuck to your head. You can't pull it off. You can try, but it's glued there. It's absolutely stuck there. But it's going to get funnier and funnier and funnier. That laugh out loud. Now you're going to laugh as inappropriately as you possibly can. Now when I clap my hands, that's right. Yes. It's crazy. Now when I clap my hands, you're going to start to laugh like a woman. You're going to start to laugh like a woman. You're going to start to laugh like a lady, like a posh lady. A very posh lady. That's right. Now when I clap my hands, you're going to start to laugh like you're completely deranged, like you're completely crazy. You're completely crazy. Now you're going to laugh like you've got an evil streak to you. An evil laugh. It really is. Absolutely evil. Sleep! Deeper down. Sinking, floating, drifting down, all the way down. All that laughter is going to make you feel so good. In a moment, I'm going to wake you up. You're going to wake up. You're going to feel so good. You're going to feel like you've had that 3-hour massage, like you've had an 8-hour sleep, refreshed, revitalised, ready for the rest of your weekend, and you are going to have a fantastic weekend. Obviously, from this moment when I say the word sleep, you'll instantly and immediately return back into this state. You love hypnosis. You love being hypnotised. So 1, every muscle, nerve and fibre is coming alive. You can begin to set up. 2, feel a surge of energy pouring in through that body of yours, through those fingers and toes. Take a deep breath. Fill your chest up, Chris. Energy giving oxygen whizzing in through your system. Fantastic. 4, your head's being cleared through with this wonderful, refreshing feeling. Every breath bringing you back into the room. 5, eyes open, wide awake, wide alert. Fantastic. How you doing?
Yeah, good.
Laughter is good.
Laughter is
Laughter
good.
is your friend.
Laughter is your...